As you can see, the entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well and being taught in many ways around the nation. Let's turn to this week's board of directors to speak a little bit more about this. They are the perfect pair to talk about education. Lawrence Gelbert is an instructor and teaches business plan development at the Wharton School, and Ron Morris is the director of entrepreneurial studies at Duquesne University, and he is also the host of the radio program, The American Entrepreneur. Great to see both of you guys. So I started a company, as you guys know, with my brother. I am business school trained. I got my MBA. I studied this. My brother, he's very successful, done it before, sold a company. He does it from gut. So what do you guys think? I mean, can entrepreneurialism be taught? You're both doing it, so I'm assuming the answer is yet, but give me a little information about that.
There's no doubt that not necessarily take someone who's never going to be an entrepreneur and make them one, but I think you can learn and become a more effective entrepreneur through analysis and action. And that's what these programs, I think, do. There's action, but there's also the analysis. You think through things, but you also take action, like your brother went ahead and did that business and started that business. You can also have that educational component and the networking component of meeting all the other people involved.
Networking, I think that's a really good point, particularly as you look at some of these things like BizDemU. I mean, probably as much as you're learning accounting or other things that you need to know, you've got this network of people that you can call upon.
Very important to build a network. Your Rolodexes, well, we used to call them Rolodexes, is very, very important. By the way, my answer to that question is that, and it is the question that we all ponder, can entrepreneurism be taught? I think, JJ, that entrepreneurs are dervishes. They create incredible messes. They have this need to climb Mountain B before they finish Mountain A. They need people to ride the brake pedal. They need people to count things. They need people to, and
is that maybe what you learn a little bit?
Well,
that's what you learn.
In our curriculum, we spend a lot of time teaching them not just how to be a more effective entrepreneur, but also we look for what I call type 2s, entrepreneur 2, entrepreneur 3, the people that can help that primary entrepreneur get his or her job done, because the primary entrepreneur loses interest very quickly. They have a real problem with ADD. Yeah,
which is the problem with people who become founders and then their company grows and they actually have to run the company and it's 6 years down the road and they want to start something new already. So
there's a different skill involved in doing that business at that stage.
So would you guys suggest for somebody who is just starting out, do you suggest that they go take a course somewhere?
I think it certainly never hurts to have a course for the content itself, and again, for the networking experience that you get from talking to other students as well as the content in the class.
Yeah, I mean, back to that point again, I must admit, from my business school class, I call upon people that I went to school with all of the time to ask questions. Your advice, what did you do here? What did you do here? Right. You know, not only other entrepreneurs, but other people who are in banking and marketing and consulting. And
there are so many resources. This show, I obviously have my own talk show, yes. When I started my first business back in the days of bear skins and stone knives, there were no resources like this. There was nothing. Today there are 1,700 entrepreneurial programs at colleges. You can turn on the radio, you can turn on the television and get that help, and that is just tremendous. We could be entering a golden age of entrepreneurism.
Yeah, I hope so. And to the point of the people in BizDemU, when you can't get a job, the option for you might be start your own company.
100% of nothing is nothing. Some people might quibble about giving up a piece of the company, and I say to them, remember, 100% of nothing is nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you join one of those where they give you some money and they take a big chunk of your company. Well, great. You guys, good luck with all of the teaching your entrepreneurs, and we hope we see a lot of good businesses coming out of your classes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, JJ.
It's time now to answer some of your business questions. Lawrence and Ron are with us once again. The first question is an email, and it is, I'm intrigued by the idea of having business school students supplement our workforce in these tight times. I would love to connect with these types, but I'm not sure of the easiest way to find them. Any ideas? You guys both teach these kinds of students. Are they available for work?
Oh, I've got plenty of ideas. First of all, you can go to the university or the school's website, find out where the entrepreneurial activities are. You can also contact people directly, call the dean's office and find out the right person to talk to. Go visit the campus, meet the people there, and also get to the students where they live. On Twitter, Facebook, do a tweet and go out there and look for those students where they are.
You're
Absolutely.
saying there's work.
There'll be many more interested than you can handle once you start looking.
Okay, so yes, it's out there. Go contact your local business school. Now moving on to a question from Ellen. She writes, if you're running a small business, is it worth going to take classes like accounting, or will you learn more from the experience of running a company? What do you guys think?
If you have time and the resource to go to the class, it's great for the content in the class, but also meeting the other students and networking with them and getting the support and outlook that they have. So it's really, if you have the time, it certainly can be valuable.
It's dog years. It's 7 to 1. When you're in a business, you learn at 7x what you learn in a classroom. I'm not saying don't take courses like accounting. In fact, I constantly be preaching to my students, get some accounting, get some econ under your belt. But beyond that, try to get into a business, try to get close to what I call the heat source, the entrepreneur, him or herself.
Right. Yeah, though if you take one of those classes, to your point, you have someone maybe who you could go ask questions of as they come up in your business.
A lot of times in business courses there are a lot of people who are interested in doing this.
Right.
Well, once you pay the tuition, you've got your pass, your hall pass.
Right.
So
take whatever you want.
Exactly. I tell my students, I said, I give you a lifetime guarantee. You just have to catch me.
All right, let's move on to the next one. This is an email from Carrie, and she writes, I'm going to pitch my business to investors, but I don't have a formal business education. How familiar do I have to be with business lingo? Interested to hear your take on this.
Well, I think that it's good if you do know the lingo, but it's not a deal breaker if you're actually going out there and getting customers and running a business. On the other hand, if you're starting out like this, it's great if you do know some lingo, or if you have somebody with you, an advisor, who can come with you to that pitch and does know that lingo, because lingo does matter. It shows that you're into that world. And I have lingo right here for everybody. Just say, going forward, ecosystem, financial, intellectual, human, and cultural capital.
I want to know how you think. I'm not really concerned about what aphorisms or $25 words that you know. I just want to know, can you think, and can you think on your feet? Because entrepreneurism is all about living by your wits, mid-course corrections, cutting on a dime, however you want to say it. So I want to hear how you think, not necessarily that you've memorized some fancy terms. Yes.
And I want to see how you think, but I also want to see the action you've taken.
I do find that some people present themselves very well, and they have all of the lingo, and they've read all the books, or they went to business school, and they sound really good, but when you scratch under the surface, it's like the Wizard of Oz, right? There's not so much there, and then you get somebody who's kind of scrappy and maybe doesn't know all the lingo, but is really getting it done.
Ron and I are both experienced entrepreneurs ourselves, and I think that floods into the classroom.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is a question from the owner of a firm that processes customer gift and loyalty programs.
Sometimes we want a little more experience, sometimes it's not that necessary, but how do we weed through the resumes that we get and find the right person for the job?
It's always hard.
I'm a big fan of I'm going to give a plug here, but I'm a big fan for a technique called the predictive index. There are Myers-Briggs, there's a DISC, personality profile, but I ran a company back in the late 80s. We were hiring 100 people a month and keeping about 50 of them 9 months later. We then put the predictive index in, which is a means by which in just 10 minutes you can get a profile of someone's personality. And by using the predictive, we cut our bad hires down to less than 2. So, and I've used that ever since. It's a tool. People don't use it. I also give the Wonderlic test, which is an IQ test. A lot of people say, why do you need to know? Well, I want to know how long it's going to take me to, I want to know how long it takes you to come up to speed on something. So I'm big on testing.
That's interesting. We've not heard that on this show yet, but I'm going to go dig into that a little bit.
BI.
One of the things I would say is that, first of all, you have to figure out what the job requirements really are, not just the title of the job. And so the hirer needs to do their homework and identify what are the characteristics of this position and what will fulfill it properly. And then when you go and look at those resumes, you'll be able to look at the background factors, but also the personality factors. You can determine if you want to actually have them come in and speak with you in an interview. And also another tip is to have multiple people interview any hire.
And you know, what I'd say also is that if you can these days, it's more possible than in other times, have a little trial period.
Yeah. And one other quick thing. When you're interviewing somebody, JJ, don't sit there and talk about yourself. Don't talk about your company. I see people doing interviews, and it's all about, here's what I do. Here's where I came from. Or war stories. Get down and do experiential interviewing. Tell us about a time when you did this. Tell us about a time when you did that. And that this and that are the things that you need done in your company.
And give them homework if you need to. Absolutely give them homework. I'm going to move on to the next question. And this is about different forms of compensation.
We're looking to upgrade our senior members of the team. There's some equity to supply to them, and the question really is, relative to carving out a little bit of the equity for senior members of the team, how much is an appropriate amount to give to them when you're short on revenue to pay them directly in salary?
Is there any formula that you look at to figure this out?
There are guidelines and ranges, but I think it really depends on the individual situation. One thing you can also do is say that there's deferred salary, so that it doesn't have to be all in equity.
First of all, you never give equity. You make them earn that, okay? And you don't tie it just to the clock or the calendar. You tie it to performance. So nobody gets equity free. Equity is precious. Equity is like my children. You want one of my kids, you better be awfully good. So equity is not something I take lightly. But if you can perform, there's no formula in my mind. It's he who produces for this company and produces well gets a piece of the action.
All right, yeah. And in 1998, during the internet boom, I remember we had all graduated from business school and people were handing out equity like it was like candy bars.
The thing about equity is eventually it disappears.
Of course.
And eventually you go under 50% and you lose control.
Right. And you don't want that to happen.
And one thing you can do is separate the equity ownership from the voting rights.
Right, right.
That's a good idea.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for all of that advice. You are obviously a perfect panel to talk about education today. We really appreciate it.